doing nothing but catching motherfuckers like her, giving their ass some lumps.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
I'm not into that fear mongering shit. You know,
Yeah.
we see what the weather doing. Watch the weather.
Oh
That's
man,
all I tell you.
nah, big bro.
Motherfucker tell
Look,
me I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't believe me. Watch the weather. Mother
nah, big
Nature
bro.
can tell you better than I can.
You said y'all had listened to one of your videos and you hit the shit right on the head. You was like, look, Mother Nature about to send. It was the water goddess. Say she about to send her like from the fourth through like the sixth. You said just be looking at the weather from the fourth through the sixth, and a little bit after that. Man, that shit hit right on the head. I'm talking about tsunamis everywhere, heavy rain everywhere, all that shit. And I showed my wife. I say, see, this why I fuck with this nigga. Like he know what the fuck he talking about. He not just talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Whoever,
the thing, cause I had people inboxing me while that shit was going on, talking about, I thought you said something was gonna happen.
but it did. See, they
You
want
ain't
if they look,
watching?
if they wasn't watching. They couldn't have been watching
That's what I
because
said.
everything was
They ain't
happening.
watching. They ain't
Everything was
watching.
happening. Look, it's
Right.
a thing on YouTube. They got a video on YouTube. These are the weather anomalies from the fourth through the eighth, and you just see all type of crazy shit going on. So they couldn't have been watching. Niggas just be wanting to just want some attention. I guess I don't know.
No, what they be doing is when they see us tribing up, they gotta try to interrupt it. They don't
Right.
want us tribing up.
Well, that's
Right? So
inevitable.
they send their little minions, they converts, they traders, the sellouts, the infiltrators. They send all the motherfuckers. That shit don't work on me. I
Mm-mm.
know every one of their strategies they're gonna try to use already.
Right.
Cause they keep using the same shit over and over. They not coming with nothing original. So if the only way they can catch me up is if they come with some original shit that we ain't seen before. And apparently we done seen it all because they can't come up with nothing more original than offering a motherfucker a soft sale.
For real. Well, Rashad Jamal said it best. That motherfucker said the low vibrationals can't create nothing. They can only tamper and switch some shit up. They can't create nothing. He said that shit.
Yeah. So what they do is the creators, they influence the creators to create it for them
Exactly.
with misinformation. Because if we knew who they was, we wouldn't be participating in their bullshit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, I'm gonna take another call. I got a couple more minutes on here, probably about 20 more minutes before I cut this one.
I appreciate you, guys. Peace.
For sure. Unity.
Yeah. I don't know how to kick myself out. So,
I got you.
all right.
Was when they trapped the angelic fourth dimensional beings into the third dimensional reality. So, how did this happen and what was it about? A long time ago, we had these people came, I don't even going to call them people, but it's easier to explain it that way, to this planet that didn't belong here, but they was given permission um, because they sent a real kind and compassionate guy here. And when they was given the permission to come here, they found that it was a beautiful place. And they scout they sent here, he didn't want to tell his comrades where he was because he thought that this place was so beautiful because he was able to traverse third and fourth dimension reality. In the third dimensional reality, which is a fixed position reality, which is contributed to what they call the Higgs boson. The Higgs boson um, is the part of the atom that you don't see, but it's responsible for density of matter. In other words, without the Higgs boson, you can't physically touch anything. You will go right through it. Because if you know, we actually hollow. We actually not a dense body as they have you believe. If you look and you keep going lower and lower and lower and lower, as you get down to the cells, you will find out that the cells break down into chains of DNA, These chains of DNA break down to um, um, vitamins and minerals. Actually, they break down into amino acids, 21 complex amino acids that we use. And these amino acids are made up of atomic elements. And we all know the elements is made of the atom, and then the atom is made up of the protons, neutrons, electrons, what they call them particles, atomic particles. And between those atomic particles, there's nothing but free space. They call it quantum space. Now, these beings came here, um, and hey, peace, Deja. Um, these beings came here and they found a substance that would help them survive. So what did they do? They asked for permission to mine, but he didn't really want to tell them about the value of the materials here. And what ended up happening from that was they came to see if the scout had delivered or had discovered what he was sent out to find, a substance that could help them survive in a dying condition because they were some tyrannical asses. In the process of this, some of them felt superior to the being that was already here, which was a neuter gender. It wasn't male or female, and it traversed third and fourth dimension freely and unobstructed. And they protected the Earth, third dimension and fourth dimension, thoroughly. And these beings that done this um, started war with those who were able to traverse the third, fourth dimension matrix. And in the process, they started to introduce their sciences here on Earth in order to accomplish their agenda. They didn't have any concern about the rules and the codes of righteousness. They was only concerned about the science and the mechanisms of science. Our brains are in two hemispheres. The reason our brain is in two hemispheres because half of the hemisphere is from them. And we call it our logic side or left side of the brain. Now notice the word left. If you go somewhere, the place that you go from, you leave. You just left. That's not a coincidence. And then you have the right side of the brain. Now notice the term right. You know, you turn right, you go right, you do right. If you do wrong, they say you veer to the left. You know, if you if you looking on your dating app and you see somebody on your dating app that you don't like, you swipe to the left. So it's telling you something. It's giving you clues that you got to try to put the puzzle together, right? So they started to experiment with the atomic structures, um, and they wanted to figure out a way because they couldn't come here and do what they wanted to do unobstructed because we wouldn't let them. And so they wanted to figure out a way that they can control us. So the first thing they did was they started to build something called a particle accelerator. And it was originally where your Mediterranean Sea sit. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but if you go do the research and you thorough with it, you'll know that what the Mediterranean Sea is now was the ocean was a big, vast a body of water where you call your Sahara Desert. The Nile did not flow north. The Nile flowed northwest, as they call it now. It's northwest, and it had to be redirected to fill in the hole. Later on, it began to leak in the inner earth. And there's people in the inner earth that don't want no parts of this wicked stuff that's going on the surface, but they will come up here if necessary if we get too out of line, and they will straighten some things out if necessary. But they have to let the process play out, and this is the only reason they haven't intervened. So what do they do with this particle accelerator? They start splitting the atom, trying to find a way to bring the fourth dimensional beings into a third dimensional fixed position, because a third dimension was already a fixed position reality. It was a dense reality. And when you get in the third dimension in physical form, if they can cut you off from your fourth dimensional access, then they would be able to subjugate you mentally and spiritually. So this was the purpose. They trying to do it again. So I'm gonna let y'all know now. That's what CERN is them trying to collapse the fifth dimension into the third, fourth combination dimension from the last time, so that we will be trapped once again. But it's not gonna work. So what did they do to collapse the fourth dimension? Wait, first I gotta explain to you how it works. If you look at a slinky and you hold it up where it's stretched out, and it goes around in these circles, and the circles are go up. And if you take two of them and you pinch them together, they become combined. Now, sometimes you get an old slinky and two of them stuck together. That's what we're doing right now. The third and the fourth dimension is stuck together on that from this event. So now that you understand it, there's like two bands on the slinky stuck together, right? So this two that's stuck together, they end up trapping the fourth dimensional being into the third dimensional reality. And when that happened, you already know two things can't occupy the same place at the same time. When they first did it, it created all kind of havoc. It created all kind of malformations of the nature of the planet Earth. But it also did something else. It blew us into a whole different orbit, and it blew a big chunk of the planet out. It's blew through the planet. It opened it all up, sending out like imagine like a ball of electricity shooting out from the middle of the ball. Electricity just busts out of it, and it'll shoot in different directions. This is what happened when they blew that collider. And so, how did they blow it? Well, what they did was they used what you call an atomic bomb and a collider. They opened a portal to the fourth dimension from the third, and they shot this atomic accelerator in there. It's like a bomb, but it's not really a bomb. It's kind of hard to explain because the terms that we use in modern linguistics don't necessarily match or fit with what's taking place. So, where my light go? Anyway, so since it don't fit with what's taking place, we have to figure out what happened. So they shoot this, open the portal to the fourth dimension, and when they blew the collider, they tried to shut the collider so that it collapses the fourth into the third, and they were successful. And so the fourth dimension and the third dimension is next door neighbors now. Instead of being on top of each other like they're supposed to be, the structure is collapsed in on itself. And this is how you trapped um, um, a spirit in a physical body. And so when that happened, the being was androgynous still. It was still an androgynous being, but the genders had to be split. The genders had to be split because of the opposing force of evil in the presence of the righteousness. Because of that, you had to have polarities. That created a polarity. Polarities is not normal, and the separation of the genders was not normal. That's why you have the man got teats like a woman, because he's actually a deformed woman. A man is a woman that had a portion of the X chromosome atrophy through similar type of experiments in other places that had nothing to do with us. So the male gender came here. And when the male gender came here, it began to corrupt everything. It began to oppress and subjugate these women, but we had a plan because we knew they was coming. And so what happened was we fought and we fought and we fought to protect all of the righteous from this mad science scenario. And they couldn't really win. Now, I'm going to give y'all some pop culture references because they always veil the truth in something that will make you look at it as not true. In Stargate SG-1, if you watch the progression of it, you will see that originally it starts out that they are encountering a group of beings that they call the ancients. And then when you look, you have these beings called Anubis, and you have one called Thor, who is a little gray, and but they wear headgear, right, to represent them, and they have the headgear like the serpent and all this stuff. That's all ceremonial dress for different purposes in combat and all of this stuff. And so the SG-1 started off fighting Egyptians, right? Then the next thing beings they enter some bad they call the Ori, and the Ori come from the word as the root to the word origin, and that's what these people call it. They say they from origin. Now this ties directly to early Christian um, philosophy when one of the first writers in the discourse was a guy named Origin. So now they're telling you that these beings was fighting um, the 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 Christ, right? They were telling you the beings were fighting the Christ now. So the Ori whooping SG-1 all over the place. Eventually they overcome them. But after they overcome them, they end up going into what they call SG deep space or something like that. SG-1 deep space or dark space or something where they end up encountering another group of beings they call the Wraith. Now, the order is out of order. The order is out of order in the beings that they're encountering. The Wraith are not the same order. They're not the ones that were encountered last. Actually, Origin was encountered last. And the Wraith encountered the Egyptians, right? So they warred with each other. And then the human was the byproduct of a rape campaign in order to try to subjugate a planet by genetic annihilation of the native of that planet. So they have a whole system set in place on how to conquer entire planets and solar systems. They go so far as to even um, turn suns off with science. Like they have things that they shoot into the core of a sun on an energetic level from a higher dimension, and they try to shoot it down to a much lower dimension, which causes the core of that sun to vibrate erratically, and it eventually becomes supernova. And if you don't know what supernova means, that means that the star actually explodes. And this comes from the agitation of the molecules of the star at its core. It's already running rapidly. They're already agitated. But now when you try to slow the center of the core down and accelerate the external part of the core, it causes a whole lot of friction. The friction builds up a pressure, and this pressure causes the core to explode. When the core explodes, the entire sun just shoots out through the whole solar system. It'll annihilate a whole solar system, and they've done many of them this way. A lot of what you're seeing as supernovas in your science shows on, they used to have a channel called Omni TV that used to show a lot of good science stuff, but they started taking that off because it was waking people up, and they didn't want us woke. So, anyway, so the SG-1 series give you like a lot of truth in there, even to the point where they under the Mount Shasta in Colorado, um, doing all this Stargate traveling to different planets from here. They still doing it. They have Stargates in your face that's not turned on because they stole them. They stole them and turned them off because they didn't want our elders to come back and assist us with overcoming the treachery. But they can't stop righteousness, and righteousness can't be stopped anywhere because righteousness is the true rule of all that was created. It has to come from the righteousness in order to exist first, because the righteousness is founded and anchored to something called love. Love is a direct product of prime creator, the source in which everything comes from. And this prime creator, when we look in the sky, we realize that it's something out there that they call darkness. That's not really darkness. As they called it in ancient Egyptian, that's the black or the Nun, N-U-N. And this is why your Catholic priestesses wear the black robe of the noon, and not to be confused with the Jupiter robe of the Judeo-Christian court system. It's a whole different purpose. That's why the men wearing them in the were originally wearing them in judiciary, but eventually the women got in there. They showing you something with this. They showing you that these people are altering the psychology of gender. And this is why you have women wearing a Saturnian robe. If you have a woman sitting on a judgment seat, she's supposed to be